Hello, tubers. This is Pat Jordan coming to you from the Grain Ghetto in Illinois. I forget, because I've been at this since 2008, that most people who discover me on YouTube will not know any of the backstory foundational material that has been out there in alternative radio and print. Although I should be internationally known and as big as any of the shill names out there, since we are piggybacking on a government-controlled military communications network, my invisibility is not a surprise. So unless you heard me before or read my books, you will not have the foundational concepts of what I call master templates that demonstrate the patterns of the world around us that then serve as examination tools for the universal fraud. Let us begin with religion. From the title of this video, you might assume that gods and demons would fill in for the religious portion of the show, and that is where you would be wrong, with the sting of the flat side of the boat or upside yo head. Even politics is a religion. It has a hierarchy, it controls you, and it extracts money from you. That's the definition of a religion. When you factor in the legends of the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the Reptilians and the Greys and whatever other ideas can be born on a half-digested apple dumpling, then you see that your gods and demons have been quite skillfully replaced by good and bad aliens, for those who are not into the religion thing. I say skillful because what those folks have done is willingly accepted the substitute of one religion for another religion. Cool, huh? Almost makes you admire the crafty bastards on the other side. I said almost. We still need them extinct. Finally, there are the altered states that simply went from the shaman traditions of getting high off your ass to the 1960s CIA-crafted psychedelic movement that just evacuated those bowels to become the Burning Man pageant with the false promise of enlightenment if you just poison your brain hard enough. I've said since 2008 that if you take enough drugs, you're bound to see gods and demons and good and bad aliens. Drugs are kind of like the door prize. So if you're all like, man, we've been fucking hosed, then I'm like, yeah, man, we've been fucking hosed. Notice I said we. I was caught in the deceptions too. A minute percentage of the population of this world has partial immunity to madness. That population is diminishing. The reason why these three similar patterns of control are used as a single master template is based on the engineering principle of never mess with a working system and the concept of pattern hunting predators. You may not be aware of the second one, but it is used around you and on you all the time. The standard Komodo dragon likes to hang out by deer runs. A predator will always take advantage of the needs of the prey. So deer need food, water, and shelter, and a path to travel. The Komodo dragon has bacteria in its saliva that is so toxic that one nip on the ankle of the deer can bring it down with sepsis of the blood in a single day. All the dragon has to do is race out to the deer track, bite a deer, and then wait for the meal to drop dead. It's the lying in wait part that I am emphasizing here. The dragons knew that the deer would and had to travel that path to get to water in the heat of the day, so they took advantage of it. Sure, a dumb animal like a deer could adjust its preferences and patterns to possibly avoid being predated. But hell, this is all about humans. So you tell me how many people are smart enough to preserve their own lives when they have brains the size second only to dolphins. How does this apply to gods and demons? It's a trap. Voltaire suspected that the thing called God was actually a malicious, malevolent trickster. But he still opted to believe in God to preserve his eternal soul, just in case. One of his famous quotes is, "You must bet you're in the game." If God was a malicious, malevolent trickster as outlined in the book of Revelation, we'll get to that in a minute, then why would you want to spend eternity with the chief archon in the seventh heaven? Come on board with me. I plan on killing the goddamn thing. So let's look at the precious book of Revelation that is one of the greatest black magics, predictive programming hoaxes ever devised. Like I said, these freaks are so skilled that, well, what you see is a record of carnage and death. The faithful follow this pre-scripted plot line that is sifted from Dungeons and Dragons role-playing. Believers look forward to being with their schizophrenic God for 1,000 years after the current carnage is over. This is where there is paradise on earth and everyone gets a new flesh suit that they were promised and the picnic never ends. Well, that's until the Yahuwah decides that everybody has had enough romping and praising him. So he unleashes the devil that never seems to die even though it was smoking in the bottomless pit. God, the supposed good one, scares the holy fuck out of the picnickers, has a good belly laugh, and then puts his little demon pet back in the pit. And the book ends. I didn't say the story ends because it was only a book and it can't chronicle an eternity of this kind of Jason Returns slasher movie plot. Or the book of Revelation would just be a TV guide that said rerun on every page. So what we are left with is the indistinguishability of the God thing from the demon thing, because both are bloodthirsty beasts where the only difference is found in that ancient Star Trek episode with the rock alien who pitted two forces against each other, labeling one good and one evil to see which one was stronger. Since religion, the gods and demons kind, is nothing but a traumatic mind control tool, you really don't think you're such a filthy sinner that you actually killed God, do you? Then we will slowly transition away from this, since it has had its time, to move to the replacement religion that through Zecharia Sitchin and the clandestine service boys has not even had a subtle facelift or name change. For those who reject the idea of damnation and salvation, that Stephen King very curiously and thoughtfully said were one and the same, the offering of good and bad aliens becomes the substitute meme. Since I too am insightful and skillful, I use these phrases of gods and demons immediately following with good and bad aliens to show the pattern hunting relationship that is based on a basic human handling technique that itself is based on the laws of alchemy. You cannot get something of value without first sacrificing something of equal or greater value. The corollary is that in order to get a sucker away from a baby, you first have to offer it a rusty razor blade to suck on. Oh, that's terrible, you might say. But in my world, when I was growing up, uncured rubber baby stoppers gave kids latex allergy and were full of cancer-causing nitrosamines. So at my level of cognition, there really isn't any difference from giving a kid a mouth plug or a rusty razor blade. So what's the trade? Good God for good aliens. Demons for bad aliens. And the aliens were even reptiles to boot. I mean, you can't make this stuff... Well, no, that's the point, isn't it? They did make this shit up. And people bit it off and axed for seconds. I won't bother to autopsy the alien for good reason. Just like gods and demons, there are no corpus delicious to do an autopsy on. Isn't it curious that in the thousands of years that the religion gig of gods and demons has been playing out, there is not a single god or demon on display in a natural history museum? I mean, you would have at least expected some fossilized angel wings or something, right? So too with all the hype and I must say really shitty home video of purported aliens. No one can even produce a goddamn green card. Aliens are green, aren't they? I mean, hell, even the passports of the 9/11 hijackers survived the crash at Ground Zero. You would think that someone would have found a laminated intergalactic travel license from one of these badass spacers. So in my own parlance, same pig, different lipstick. What we are left with are those who will not buy into the nonsense of religion and its morality extortion, or extraterrestrialism and its fantasy role playing, but go right to the ancient traditions of getting so fucked up on drugs that you either see all four players or just don't give a shit. In my books, I examine these templates from many deep implications, one of which being in Doof of the Dogs, that the shamanistic traditions are based on using substances derived from fungus. The Amanita muscaria, aka fly agaric or Santa Claus mushroom, is at the head of the list. Suffice it to say that fungus can rewire your brain. So the question that anyone with the sense God gave a pissant would be, do I really want or need to rewire my head to see the master templates that are painfully obvious to anyone who does not have their head Ouroboros inside their ass? I mean, no one knows the first thing about these chemicals that were brought to you just like religion and space nuts from second and third party sources. The ability for adults to close their minds and open their mouths is astounding to me, especially when the command and contraband come from someone that they don't even know, therefore could never trust. So what's left? If I have been successful in showing that you have been puppeteered by a single master template that offers different flavors of poison ice cream, don't drink the Kool-Aid, then you really should have that empty elevator sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, wondering what could possibly be left. This is yet another part of dialectic. Either you choose one of the options we have crafted for you, or there is nothing left. Which, of course, is total bullshit. I spent my entire time taking all of the religions. Remember, spirits, aliens, drugs, and politics are all religions. All the religions of the world, and looking at their core mythos with the express purpose of applying biological and scientific principles to them. What I came up with was the synthesis that viruses are symbiotes with fungus, that have parasitized mankind from the earliest writings, and that the origins of the hallucinations of gods and aliens arise from that intoxication. Notice I did not include demons. The component of evil is the only thing that I recognize as a constant and tangible thing that affects and controls what we call life and existence. This evil, then, is the result of the entity of the viral fungal parasite. Your gods, they were nothing but bugs in your head. Your demons, nothing but bugs in your head. Your aliens, nothing but bugs in your head. The drugs, a way to let those bugs in. Now, if I am right and evil has a biological component to it, then it can be known and discovered and rooted out and destroyed for all time. Isn't that worth dumping that single master template baggage that you have carried around all this time to no useful result and getting on board with me?